primary consumers. The CKC stands for the Cultural Knowledge Consortium, as you can see, and we have a role to enhance the ability of this warfighter to fulfill his mission. This presentation is to address some of the practical ways that we can do that, and I think our approach is dual, but you'll be able to see that as well. I've come to learn about this particularity of late in some of the meetings and conferences that I've been to that have demonstrated that the warfighter is a client that has a specific set of needs, which I'll get to here in a little bit. And so that's the basis of this presentation, is not only to introduce how we can fulfill those needs, but how we can assist in other ways as well. The warfighter, now this slide doesn't reproduce very well from what I set the slide up in the presentation at all, but the CCC you see there is for Cross-Cultural Comprehension. That's a buzzword that more people are becoming more and more aware of, and you can see from the field manual there that it is the intent of the Army to operate among all of these, the whole full spectrum of conflict, from stable peace to general war. So in wide area security, you noticed in the slide before that I didn't have the dividing line directly in the middle because it's creeping towards eking out the combined arms, or let me go back just a second. This line here is moving this way to increase the area under which the Army operates in wide area security measures. In those wide area security, the threat is irregular. It's more irregular. There are more actors involved. There are more outcomes that you need to be aware of. There are consequences to collateral damage. There are second and third order consequences that all stem from understanding cultures. Well, how people do, what they, how they react, how they think, what they believe, and so on. And this other quote here from the Field Manual 3.0, future conflicts will be much more likely fought among the people, not just around the people. Hence, the importance of what CKC has to offer. I like this first quote. These are from Jeff Demarest in his Winning Insurgent War with the Foreign Military Studies Office. These are the reasons that we need to study culture if we're operating under wide area security. This is what makes being cognizant of what's going on in what we used to call in the human terrain sector, of which I was part, or systems of which I was part for a while in Afghanistan, the green sector, to find people and things. I like that quote. If he knows where you are, but you don't know where he is, then you are prey. And the warfighter does not want to be prey. This is what makes warfighters particular customers. First of all, researchers tend to observe to improve theory, to explain behavior, and so on. The warfighter, he wants to target and he wants to detect. He also cannot really hide the fact that he's there. His presence will be necessarily noticeable. Behavior will be altered because of it. There's no avoiding that. The warfighter has a specific purpose. It's security. And he's very now-oriented. And because he's so now-oriented, and because his purpose is security, he values an assessment of normal so that he can distinguish from that what is abnormal and respond. The CKC role in warfighter support is two-pronged. Practical through our web portal, which I'll demonstrate. I'll pull up here and demonstrate some of the elements that we have, which are intended to broaden and diversify the front and rear collaboration. It's a versatile, generalized kind of website that allows access to different tools. It allows access to different published materials. It allows access all to different information sharing, geospatial information, or at least information that is structured to be useful in geospatial formats. I am the geospatial scholar as a regional functional scholar for the CKC, and so the website, I think, has some pretty unique, general, practical utility that is accessible in a remote area. It's accessible with bandwidth limitations. It's accessible from handheld devices. It's really a useful tool to be able to attach to in forward areas especially. It's also useful to not just enhance that collaboration that I'm speaking of in that first element, but also black swan events. For those of you who are unfamiliar, black swans are catastrophic events that are unexpected and unexpectable. Actually, you really can't plan for, but they are catastrophic in that they wipe out capacities, they eliminate resources, and so on. The CKC website, the web portal, can be called upon. Okay, so you can't hear me anymore. Is that what I'm getting? Okay. All right. Well, in the case of black swans, which are catastrophic events, unplanned for events that undermine capacities, that undermine capabilities, the CKC web portal can replenish some of those materials through our accessible elements, and we can also then enhance both SCA in the front and the rear. And that's a practical way that we can help. But we also have a conceptual contribution to make. And this becomes more important when we're trying to design tools that warfighters can use on a day-to-day basis to help them establish normalities and to detect abnormalities so that they can respond quickly and eliminate or minimize second and third order effects and really improve their ability to fulfill mission at the lower levels and even the upper support levels, the division levels at in the FOBs and so on, of support for the units as they go in the field. In both cases, yes, the CKC conceptual role can play a role. And I'm introducing here the concept of SCA baselining, socio-cultural awareness baselining, for us to start a dialogue around. At this point, you can see the slide there. I'm going to try and share my screen and pull up the website that I have open. Now I'm hoping you can see this, and I'll just keep talking as if you can. Periodically I can bump in here and see if it's not working. But right now I'm in a forum, and I'm in the website, and if you go back here to the home page, it requires registration to see some of these features. The journal search, the web search, the events, the resources, the document library. Those require registration. I'm hoping you can do that. It's free, it's uncomplicated, and it's really useful. And we could really use your voice in the dialogues that we're trying to start here. This is the blog page that I'm popping up here. And what you see is I've introduced a blog entry this morning. It's formulating a socio-cultural analysis baseline for warfighter use in forward operating areas. It's my way of introducing this topic, which I'll get to in a little bit. I just pulled it up so that you can see about how some of the blogs are. There is an ability to tweet off these. There is ability to comment on those. Hey, I've already received one. Excellent. You can scroll down. You'll see other blogs, so try and look at all of them. This one will stay up unchallenged sequentially. Oh, okay. Can't see my screen, I see. Okay. All right. Let me let me put in the website. It's http www.cultural. It's www.culturalknowledge.org. That'll get you to the home page. Registration. You'll have to get into the registration to be able to see. I was having success sharing my screen earlier, but then apparently not now. Let's try it again. Now? Anybody? Sergeant Brian, is this working? Okay, I apologize for that. It is working now. Okay. All right, well, there you can see the blog and so on. If you click on the forums, you can see several rooms there. There's one entered down here. You can start forums as well, start the dialogues as well. This is they can be restricted, as in the case of the Socio-Cultural ISR. We can limit them to certain subscribers for your specific use. I've started the SCA Baseline here to manage the dialogue that I'm hoping will start after this. How are we doing? Can we still see? Okay, excellent. The document library is, I think, the most versatile tool, and it's just very simple and straightforward. I mean, you just upload a document and you can download it from somewhere else. So a lot of times these email will not handle the larger documents. This is a way to bypass that fairly easily, it's a simple tool, but it also handles Excel files. And if you have voluntary geospatial information, for example, you can post it, you can upload it to the document library. Somebody with GIS capability can pull that off. If all it needs is 3 fields of data. It needs a Y coordinate, an X coordinate, and an attribute. And that could be a long string explanation, which we can then, as we process it, divide into attributes in the rear. But in the front, just coordinate, statement. And that's VGI. That can be processed and then resupplied across this very same medium. I'm not sure that it handles shapefiles, but it might. You can see here, along here, I've got one started, Geospatial Data and Analysis. And some of the documents, this was for a limited access group, and then I have these split into one for CENTCOM, and one for Afghanistan, and these are a couple documents that I wrote as a member for of HTT-13 in Kabul with the Combined Security Transition Command. Check those out if you want to. One's a really cool police atlas, you know, not to pat myself on the back or anything, but it's useful information. It's this kind of thing that we can share and that we can use as a repository. We can transfer it, we can hold it, we can, you know, and store it, and so on. The resources, the journal search is a capability that most probably have if you're attached to a library somehow, but if you're not, and if you're in a forward area where that's not going to be likely, you can register for this site and you can search thousands, literally thousands of journals for published materials to enhance your ability to understand SCA events. Let me see if there's anything left on this that I want to look at. Those of you who have questions, while I'm sort of looking to see if I have anything that I've left out of going over this website, there's a couple items that we don't have on here, by the way, although we really want to. And one of those, if you can see from the slide, is links for links, I think was the title. And we have access at National Defense University, a data wiki, which has access to thousands, literally thousands of links with ability to rate those for utility and so on. And you can add your own links. You can rate links that you've used from there. And we want to there's been a response or been a suggestion within the Worldwide Human Geography Data Group that we develop capacity to catalog useful links. So data cards is one way we're hoping to do that, and if that just refuses to materialize, then we'll try and come up with another way that we can put together a link catalog. The last way that I have on there is the D6 Alpha Standard Cloud, which is ozone widgets that will allow for some visualization. It will give you access to an app menu that you can use to process data that you find, or through the info sharing, through the VGI. That is not available yet, although I'm told it won't be that long. But that capability will be on there too, and free to all registered users. There is no charge for any of these services. Okay. Let me go back to the presentation. I don't know where that went. I'm sorry. I guess you'll have to wait for it to load again. But there, in the meantime, if you have a question, how do you find the posting? If you're not registered, that won't show up, more than likely. So take some time, Mr. Alvin, to register, and that should be there. It should be in the blogs. It should be the first one that comes up in the blogs when you click on it. Or if you haven't clicked on the blog button at the top, click on the blog button and it should pull up. I'm not sure you have to register to get there, but if you can't find it from there, then register, and then it should be okay. Okay, you are registered. Well, it should be under blogs. If you're at the site and you are registered, then I guess I don't know why. Okay. I don't think I can answer some of the registration problems you might have. I don't have that here. I'm not one of the admin developers on that, and so we have had some problems in some sites. I see Matt has written a comment on there that we had to address, and I don't. We have an IT team that is not co-located in Fort Leavenworth. It's in Virginia, and they are addressing site issues and so on. They successfully addressed, I believe, the SOCOM issue, or I don't think it was a SOCOM issue as much as a MacDill Air Force Base issue that allowed commenting. So I think we've come up with that an answer for that one. But any little problems you have, we can get them ironed out. As far as the blogs are a little bit different from the forums. I tend to use the blogs to introduce topics and say what's on my mind and explain things, and then hopefully take that over into the forum where we can have more of a discussion about that. Is there any more questions on the website itself and the capacities that we have in place, which are the document library, and it's working well, or even some of the things that we intend but don't have in place? All right, well, I don't see any. So I'm going to move on and introduce this last topic. Let me run through these slides to get to the next one. This came to my attention first at a tribal workshop. It was brought up that the warfighter socio-cultural analysis, to be useful to somebody who's not really embedded in that whole procedure and who's not a researcher or a student of research or a student of anthropology and so on, is difficult to apply. For the warfighter to able to apply that, I mean, the means of the warfighter to observe are extensive, and there are all kinds of gadgets that are in the field that can extend the eyesight, that can extend the observation powers of the warfighter at different levels. But all of the builders of that technology and the appliers of that technology say the same thing. We need a baseline, or else we don't really know what we're looking at. And so I can see from a true research standpoint, it's difficult to see the utility of a baseline. A baseline to me is like a literature review. It's where you learn to start, what's been done, but you don't really have the time, if you're in a forward area, to get into that. Probably you don't have the skills to do that either. And so we need a way, a model, an actual product that can assist somebody to learn what is normal, or at least start off looking at what might be normal, and then adapt that as the observations come in and you find it useful or not useful. That's where the dialogue come in. That's where the collaboration between front and rear come in across the website can be useful as well. But we need to balance in this baseline precision and generality. Oversimplification makes it easy to use. Precision makes it true. If it's too precise, it becomes cumbersome to use. If it's too simple, then it becomes meaningless. And so that's the balance that we have to contend with in putting this thing together. It needs to be easy to apply. It needs to be easy to update. To that end, this is what I'm suggesting, and I'm pointing to that blog entry because I'd really like at least everybody who's registered here today to read that and respond to it, either as in a commentary in the blog site or within the SCA Baseline forum that I'll facilitate over the next few days, and I'll throw a few things out there and a few more of my thoughts. That blog entry refers to an item to a document on the in the document library. It gives you a link to that will give you more information on these categories. But these categories, in my estimation, I love this. This is from the RSI approach, and it breaks it down into these 4 categories of items that will allow and explain to the warfighter, especially when, where, and why people do say, think, believe, and go as they do. And that's really what they want to know. They want to understand what they see and why that's happening. These categories are fairly exhaustive in building that infrastructure. Ontologies you can get from the document, but ontologies are essentially cultural worldviews. It's what group members know to be real about the world from their perspective, how the world works. Identities are commonly held answers to questions of who am I, how do I relate to others, and these have been developed over time. Now, identities are multiple within cultures and situational as well. They're not mutually exclusive to each individual. Each individual will have several identities and will be prioritizing certain ones at certain times in certain places. Narratives are commonly held understandings of what they are talking about when they use words and phrases. It's how they understand each other and what the meaning is and the subtext and so on, so that it's invariably different from ours and from outsiders. And it's good to have a handle on what is being communicated internally. Logics of appropriateness are commonly held understandings of what is appropriate to do in any particular identity or role being played or prioritized at any given time in any given place. What's right, what's wrong, moral codes, mores, vendetta codes, all would fall into this category and are very useful to know. The home awareness you won't find in the document, and it's what I've been adding. I'm a geographer. It's the way that I view the world, and place has an impact. Awareness of home has a meaning to people, and that it does explain behaviors, and it does reveal sensitivities and so on. And it's a good thing to understand. Home awareness refers to common sensitivities and bonds that are developed as a consequence of encountering and using whatever is available in that place, your home place. Steep, flat, dry, wet, hot, cold, so on. Mixtures of these. There's physical endowments that certain groups of people have by virtue of being there instead of somewhere else. And that will affect how they decide to use those things, and that will affect how they think about those sorts of things and how they devalue or emphasize other things or value certain things. So place matters, and not just the physical characteristics of that place, but the situation of that place relative to other cultures, routes of travel, and so on. That's why this baseline is very important. It really helps control for second and third order effects, and I'm hoping that if we can build this thing into a product, and that's one of the things as you engage in the dialogue that I want you to remember, we're really talking about a product here. We're not arguing theory. We're not necessarily splitting philosophical hairs. This is a thing that it needs to be. It's not necessarily a research tool as much as it is an assessment tool. And so keep that in mind as you comment in the forums, which I hope you do. Play full out when you're doing this. Read the little description there that I put in there. You say what you got to say. But say it respectfully and mind your manners. But we need all of your participation. No meetings behind the meetings. Nobody's snickering that's saying we're all washed up. You know, say it flat out so we can all respond to it and really move this along and hopefully provide this tool that is really is becoming in higher demand as the need for wide area security operations increases. That's all I have in terms of addressing the two-pronged approach the CK has for the warfighter specifically, and how we can be a practical help and how we can be a conceptual help as well. Let me answer some of the questions as I see them up here. I can't answer that, Matt. How is the work coming on the mobile version of the site? That's an IT question, and Michelle is your contact. Michelle Smith is the IT lead for our project, and they are the ones that are trying to get the standard cloud up and running. They are the ones that are trying to connect to the data wiki. They are the ones who are managing this site and trying to configure it to ease the remote access of the site, so that we already discovered some problems that Matt's alluding to when we tested the site. If you have, for example, Internet Explorer, I think, is on your smartphone, it's not doesn't work too well, and so on. But so that's how to answer that. That's my no answer to that question. Anybody, in response to Nathan White, anybody can use the CKC. I'm addressing it in the context of its use for the warfighter in front, in forward, and rear areas. Now, we are aligned with COCOMs. We have regional and functional scholars aligned with each of the COCOMs, and we're in touch with SCA elements in the rear, and to a certain extent in the forward areas if we have at least our RFS aligned with CENTCOM is. But we, as far as using the site, anyone's allowed to use the site. We promote it There are, as you register, there will be certain accesses and privileges that you'll have by virtue of qualifying in different ways, or there'll also be some blinders placed on access, I suppose. I'm not real familiar with how that works, but if you're just simply a casual user. But so we do have the capacity to select and limit access where it's desired. But our primary users, in this case, should be warfighters, soldiers, Marines, sailors, SCA elements, intelligence analysts at the COCOMs, anybody who has NGOs, intergovernmental agencies, and so on. Yes, baseline structure slide. All right, I'm sorry that didn't reproduce like it did for me, but okay, take a look at that and then reformulate your question from that, Josh, and then I will move on to Ralph's question. I can't answer that, Ralph, simply because I don't know of all the uses or the applications that other peoples are using SCA for. In our context, I've not been contacted by the transnational criminal organizations. The question is, has there been any consideration of applying SCA to transnational criminal organizations? And I can't answer that satisfactorily, except that I've not been contacted. If I were contacted, then I would do my best to use what I could to facilitate what's useful for SCA, for our COCOMs, and get them in contact with those organizations that would benefit from contacting each other. That's primarily what we do in managing dialogue. We facilitate. I have expertise, and we have expertise as regional and functional scholars. I have a PhD in geography. I'm an economic geographer. I understand ecologic geography. I understand GIS and geospatial visualization, and but in this capacity, it's not my primary role to act as an analyst, but to allow that analytical background to help me usefully facilitate an appropriate dialogue between interested parties. Okay, RSI. Sorry, I'll get back to you, Kip. Josh, RSI stands for reverse ISR. ISR is intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. It's an intel buzzword. The idea of flipping those to RSI, reconnaissance, surveillance, intelligence, is to subtly distinguish that SCA focuses on, socio-cultural analysis, not to make it distinct from intelligence, but to distinguish it in a way that it focuses on a slice of intelligence that requires a slightly different approach of observation and then putting it all together. Now, that's not to say that that's not how intelligence analysts do it. It's just a way of putting a distinction between SCA and intelligence. It's arguable that you need one, but for our purposes, we've found it useful at this point to try and decide that SCA is something particular that we need to focus on, especially as it concerns cultural mores, beliefs, behaviors in ways, in a more general fashion, that allow a warfighter to assess. I hope that answers your question, but that's what RSI stands for. If you look at that document that I've linked to, you probably get a better sense. Matt Poles wrote that, and with some commentary by David Ellison at SOCOM. And so that's what I'm referring to. The question was, I'm sorry, you mentioned RSI. What does RSI stand for? Does this structure lend itself to IC elements being able to provide information easily? I think so. I think it's just a matter of reconfiguration, or this is probably a little outside my lane. Well, actually, it's probably quite a bit outside my lane, but I wouldn't see what the limitations were from a analytical standpoint of adapting IC elements to this format as opposed to the ISR. I can't see how that would be much different. Let me go back to Kip Porter. The question is CKC replicated in unclass FOU settings or in classified realms to allow full participation among individuals and organizations who are not able to operate in, presumably, a NIPR environment there? It hopes to be. At this point, no. We are going through the accreditation process to be able to handle the FOUO unclass materials, and we suspect that is just, it takes a while just because you know, I don't know, you'd have to ask somebody who really deals with those individuals more often than I do. But the hope is, yes, to extend this to SIPR and to extend it beyond. But right now, the biggest demand is in the unclass, and that's where the fewest restrictions are as well. And so we're trying to gain a beachhead within the unclass realm. Okay, Matt. Okay, Matt says, confirms what I said. It actually adapts the IC better than ISR does. Thanks, Matt. From Mike Albin, here's an observation from Washington, D.C. ISR in this town refers to technological activities and use, and almost totally excludes reference to socio-cultural and linguistics capabilities. This is a constant complaint among us cultural types. That's kind of, I think, the conclusion that SOCOM drew as well, that although it purports to categorize itself around the PMESI or the DIML or the formats that piece it out so that it addresses different parts of the ISR body of literature, or body of knowledge, that's the whole point, was to kind of turn it on its head, I think, and Matt would probably answer that better than me, but turn it on its head so that it distinguishes itself, so that we can really focus on, get down in the weeds with the social and the cultural and the place impacts and those sorts of things that really are necessary for the warfighter to understand in a wide area security operational environment. And once it moves beyond that, the need for cross-cultural comprehension goes down, and the utility of the RSI, I don't know that it's rendered moot, but it's certainly de-emphasized. But in this operational environment, then RSI becomes really useful and distinct. That's all the questions I see. Please contact me. I don't know that you can contact me from the website. I think it's just Knotwell at culturalknowledge.org. That'll get to my email box. We'll collaborate. I'm the Geo-spatial scholar, as I said. We have other scholars, 2 aligned with UCOM. We have 1 aligned with CENTCOM. I sort of fill in to be the alignment for SOCOM, STRATCOM, and NORTHCOM. And we have an aligned scholar with, did I say CENTCOM? We do. AFRICOM and PACOM as well. So we'll get you to who you need to see, and if you want a recording of this, I think Sergeant Bryant takes care of that, and we'll make that available. All right. That's all from me, unless I see other questions. I really appreciate you tuning in, and
right. I think that's all for Mr.
Thanks.
Knotwell today.